Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Today's card is part of a Instagram hop celebrating Pride. I will have more info in the description box below. I'll link to my Instagram and you can check out there because that's where the hop is. Of course, I like to do videos with my cards. So I have a video for how I made this card. And I wanted to basically make the sort of new version. I guess like people use them interchangeably. There's this version and there's the original like rainbow version of the Pride flag. So what I did is I just took a bunch of scraps of cardstock. So I don't have like specific colors because I just dove through and grabbed all the colors I needed. And then I die cut those scraps using the Simon Says stamp. I have the Strips 1 wafer dies and the Strips 2 wafer dies. These were released back like during December. And you could totally just cut strips with a paper cutter. I like using the wafer dies because then I don't have to worry about things being like straight or even sizes, anything like that. It's like I can just die cut and go because most of my scraps aren't, you know, perfectly shaped. So ran them all through my die cut machine. And I used the wider ones for the main like rainbow part. And I'm just gluing them to copy paper with some craft tacky glue. I chose copy paper because it's thin. It's not going to add a bunch of bulk to this. And it makes it just easier to cut things down. So once these were all adhered, I'm going to trim off the copy paper and then just trim off just the littlest bit. I'm going to make a 5x7 card with this. So I wanted this to be slightly smaller than that. So I end up trimming it to like 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 roughly. So just the littlest bit to get it the size that I wanted. And then you could, like I said, like you could leave it here. This is just a perfect little like Pride flag. But I wanted to add the other colors. So to do that, I just trimmed more scraps of cardstock into squares. I would have used square wafer dies, but I'm not even joking. I can't find them. I don't know where they went. I never use square wafer dies. Like really, if you look back at my videos, I usually do like the rectangles, circles sometimes, and then all the other types. But yeah, couldn't find the squares because I was like, oh, I could like kind of inlay them, but whatever. So to do this portion, I just cut these squares. They're all the same size, so it made it easy to quickly line them up. And I only applied adhesive on one end, and then I'm going to adhere them. And then the remaining pieces that are left over off camera, I actually just pulled them apart and I'm going to die cut them and use parts of that on the inside. So this was the easiest way I could figure out how to do this. I wanted things to be lined up and yeah. So adhered all the colors. So I've got the black, brown, the light blue, the pink, and then the white. And like I said, these pieces were all the same size, so it made it easy, just kind of aligning from like each corner. And then once those are aligned, then I need to get this adhered onto the card front. So took a little bit of fiddling. I used my little Tim Holtz ruler, my grid mat, etc. Just because I wanted to make sure that this was lined up straight. Like I've said in other videos, I used to be really good at eyeballing things. The older I get, the harder it gets. This wasn't too bad though, because I have the straight lines of the rainbow piece and then my grid lines. So I was able to get it lined up. And then I adhered this piece to the rainbow piece. And then to trim it off, I almost used my paper trim, but I realized there's no way. Like this is several layers of cardstock. And I didn't want to risk it like catching in the trimmer. So first I used my big like Tim Holtz shears because I'm cutting through like 5 layers of cardstock. But the shears leave a serrated edge and I can see that on my cardstock and it bugs me. So then I just used my regular scissors and carefully trimmed off the excess by just flipping it over and seeing where the edge was. And then it was good to go. So I've got my little Pride flag here. And then the sentiment I chose is the "You Are Loved" wafer die from Simon Says stamp. I thought that was rather fitting because it is very, very true. I wanted this card to be like to kind of cover everything because I don't care how you identify. I don't care you're oriented to any of it. You are loved no matter what. That's what this hop is about. There is a ton of card makers in this community that got together. This is actually the last day of the hop. There have been multiple days of this hop. Tons of inspiration. I haven't even had a chance to go through all the like cards and videos to see what everyone else has made, but it's just wonderful to see all of the support. There's a bunch of companies and people sponsoring this hop. There's tons of giveaways. And it's just a way to say that you are seen, you are included, you are loved, no matter what. I will always be an ally. Chris and I are very much allies to the Pride community. Quick little mini fun fact is Chris and I actually met at a Pride parade. Even though we are white, cis, hetero, as vanilla as it could possibly be, we met at a Pride parade. So Pride holds just a little extra special spot for us. And I just, that's all I can say is that you are loved no matter what. And you will always find an ally here. I am here to support you and to hear you and be there for you. So hopefully that comes across. So after I did the wafer dive for the You Are Loved, I just stacked the layers together, and then I had run it through with some red cardstock and added just the little red hearts to the center of each of those O's. And then these sentiment strips were from the Simon Release, the Pride sentiment strips that CZ Design did, which I also love. I've used these in a couple of videos, I think, already. I like how super inclusive, and she's got that stamp set that I've also used in previous videos. And I just love the inclusivity. Like, we need to see more of that in this industry and in the world in general. You know, love is love. That's all that matters. So I trimmed down the sentiments I wanted to use. I'm going to pop the main sentiment onto this. I use just little thin 3D foam squares just to give it a little more dimension. And then the sentiment strip that I chose says always here for you. And I adhered that as well with those little foam squares. And then for my card base, like I said, this is going to be a 5x7 card. So I cut some white cardstock to 10 inches by 7 inches. And I'm going to score that at 5 inches. So this will end up being a top folding 5x7 card. So got that scored and reinforced the fold. And then on the inside of the card, this is where I die cut more scraps, the pieces left over from the black and the brown, the blue, pink cardstock, etc. I die cut with one of the smallest of the strips wafer dies. And then I'm going to align these onto the inside of the card. You could totally do this on copy paper like I did on the front, but I found it was just as easy to adhere on like directly to the inside of the card base. So I figured out how I wanted to do it. I folded the card inside out, and then I'm just taping it down with some painter's tape to my work surface just to keep it like steady while I adhere these little strips of paper. And again, I'm going to build the rainbow of all the colors, and just started with red and then just worked my way down to every single color, adhering them next to each other with craft tacky glue. And like I said, you could do this on copy paper and then, you know, trim it down, adhere it, etc. That would work too. And this would also work good for a card front. This is another one of those times that as I was finishing it, I was like, ooh, this would look really cute on, like, you know, just as a clean and simple card front too. Just, you can never go wrong with rainbow colors. You can never go wrong with inclusivity. Like, just is what it is. So once I got all of these little strips adhered, so I did, you know, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and then I added the black, the brown, the light blue, and the pink. And then I also die cut a scrap of the white cardstock just to add that, just to finish it off. It just seemed to be needing there. You can't really see it as much on camera, but, you know, it's there. So got those all adhered into place. And then once those were adhered, this is where I'll add more of those sentiment strips. I had just trimmed down the We Stand With You sentiment strip, and then I also trimmed down the pronouns one, which I thought was really fun. I like that those are included in the sentiment strips, but also that other CZ Design stamp set. So the he, him, she, her, they, them pronouns. So I thought I would include those because, again, just trying to cover just the spectrum, you know, all the things. So adhered those into place, peeled off the painter's tape, and then flipped this over and did the exact same thing. I just used my scissors to trim off all the little pieces hanging off the edges of the card base. And then that's the inside of the card. And then for the card front, I coated the back of this with Simon's Big Mama foam tape. Again, just for that little bit of dimension. And then I adhered this into place. And as always, you could leave it here, but I'm going to embellish it. I have some Trinity stamps, Tic Tac. I think they're called jelly hearts. Where's my little container here? Tic Tac jelly hearts, and they're white and they're glossy and raised. I love these. I've used these in a bunch of videos. I have multiple packs of these. So I put just a few on the card front here and then adhered them into place with just dabs of craft tacky glue. And then after I got those in place, like since this entire card is just die cuts, like so flat cardstock, I wanted the sentiment to stand out more. So I grabbed my glossy accents and I'm going to completely coat the die cut sentiment and the hearts with the glossy accents. I'm not going to stop there though. I don't use glossy accents very often, but lately I've been using it more because I've been using it with glitter. People have been asking me what the difference is between just you doing it this way or using like stickles, etc. It's very similar. My containers of stickles, I think, are dried out at this point. I had them for over a decade and I don't reach for them as often, but I have glossy accents because I use it for all kinds of random things. It's also just a good glue. It just dries, obviously very shiny. So anywho, coated the words and the hearts with the glossy accents. And then I'm going to pull out my splat box and my glitter duster. I've shown this in several recent videos. It's just a little glitter duster from Stampers Anonymous that I have Simon's Unicorn glitter in. So just a neutral, very fine shimmery glitter. Dust that very heavily over this. So it's going to adhere to the glossy accents and that'll keep it contained. Of course, you can see it's like everywhere. I keep it contained in the splat box, but I let it completely dry. Leave it for a couple hours, make sure it's dry. And then I hold it over my splat box again and dust off the excess with my big fan brush. And then the only glitter is stuck into that sentiment. Although I don't mind. I have a few, random loose bits of glitter here and there. There's nothing wrong with a bit of glitter. So now that it's completely dry, this card is complete. Like I said, I'll have a link to my Instagram and you guys can check that out if you're interested. I will also have a link to my blog post. I'll link to all the supplies I used. You can check that out below if you are interested. Thank you all so much for watching, for thumbs upping, for commenting, for all your support, whether it be of me or just of the Pride community and everyone in general. I love you all, and I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.